Hi everyone, my name's Dan, I'm the Reverend, and in today's sermon I will be going into detail about the potential lethality of eating cherries, more specifically, cherry pits. Cherries are the sweet and sometimes sour tasting fruits from multiple plants of the genus Prunus. There are 430 different species in this genus, including nectarines, plums, peaches and apricots. These fruits are referred to as drupes because the fleshy part, the mesocarp, is edible. These fruits contain a pit, or a stone to some people. The purpose of this is so that the plant can reproduce, much like a seed. These fruits are intended for consumption by animals. This means that by the time the animal has processed the food, it has often travelled a fairly substantial distance and is ready to be germinated in a big disgusting pile of natural fertiliser. A strange quirk of the cherry and other prunus fruits is that the pit contains a high amount of a cyanogenic compound called amygdalin. When a compound is referred to as being cyanogenic, it means that when the compound has been consumed, the body processes it in such a way that some or all of it is converted into cyanide, which is very well known to be fatal at sufficient doses. This has been demonstrated at various points throughout history, most notably by some very naughty Germans in the 1940s. Cyanide causes death by preventing the mitochondria in cells from using oxygen. Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, so the lack of oxygen causes the cells to power down and quickly die. As you can imagine, this is fairly bad news, especially for cells in the lungs, heart and brain. The initial symptoms of cyanide poisoning are headache, dizziness, confusion, weakness, lack of coordination and fatigue. Oh, and also confusion. But with high or prolonged exposure, these symptoms can progress into much more serious life-threatening conditions, including unconsciousness, lung damage, convulsions, low blood pressure, coma, and eventually death. We don't have any truly accurate figures detailing exactly how many cherry pits a person would need to eat in order for it to cause fatality, but we do have this data on rats. The LD50 for rats is around 3 grams of ground cherry pit per kilogram of body weight. LD50 refers to the point in which 50% of the subjects die as a direct result of a toxic agent. This term is often used when describing poisons, radiation or viruses. These situations are very difficult to up or downscale, and a lot of factors need to be taken into consideration. Humans and rats are very dissimilar in various different biological ways, from metabolic rates to physiological processes. An example of this is that a rat's heart rate is much quicker than a human's, and a rat can survive 2 weeks without food, whereas a human can often survive up to 3 weeks. Extrapolating the data that we have means that it would take around 200 red cherry pits or 300 black cherry pits for the lowest known 50 mg fatal dose of cyanide to be absorbed. This, as you can imagine, is a very high quantity of cherry pits to consume, but it's nothing compared to the more realistic figures. Cyanide is known to be lethal in humans at a concentration of 1.5 mg per 1 kg of body weight. This means that the average 84 kg UK male would need to absorb 126 mg of cyanide for death to occur. If 200 to 300 cherry pits is the quantity required for 50 mg of cyanide to be produced, it means that in actuality it would take around 630 cherry pits as an average of red and black for a definitive fatality to occur. Here is a picture of 242 cherry pits to make it easier to comprehend. It would be a massive struggle to keep this quantity of cherry pits down for long enough in their more bioavailable paste form, purely based on bitterness and likelihood of vomiting, considering a symptom of cyanide poisoning is vomiting. You can pretty confidently guarantee that there's no risk of accidental fatal consumption. That's it for today's video. We've concluded that whilst cherry pits can theoretically kill you, it's very unlikely. I hope people enjoy this kind of content because I've got plenty more short explanations that I'd like to record. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe if you'd like to see some more.